Hello, fellow K-drama fans, and welcome to another episode of Korean Drama Insider, where we share our love of K-dramas, celebrate the amazing stories and characters, and dive into the moments that make us fall in love again and again. I'm Star, your host. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I'm so excited about today's episode. It's all about one of my favorite relationship types in K-dramas. No, not the romance, it's the bromance. That beautifully loyal, sometimes chaotic, always heartwarming male friendship that gives us just as many feels as the romantic leads. K-dramas are known for their strong emphasis on character relationships, and the bromance, a deep, non-romantic bond between male characters, is a popular and well-loved trope. Today, we dive into 3 K-dramas that have complex and evolved bromances, and then we end with 4 more for your watch list and your homework. As K-drama fans, I'm sure you've seen at least one unforgettable bromance. That dynamic between 2 main male lead characters that gives us emotional support, comic relief, and sometimes even upstages the romantic storyline. Today, we're going deeper, not just listing them, but fully unpacking 3 of what I believe are the most legendary K-drama bromances: Goblin, The King Eternal Monarch, and Vincenzo. Now, please note we're going to do some deep dives, but we've kept major plot twists out to steer away from any spoilers and protect your first watch. First is Goblin and the Grim Reaper in the K-drama Guardian, the Lonely and Great God, or more widely known as Goblin. This iconic pair set the gold standard for K-drama bromances. The Goblin, played by Gong Yoo, and the Grim Reaper, played by Lee Dong-wook, start off as hostile roommates with a serious beef. Their relationship begins with tension that's sparked by a forced living arrangement due to a lease mix-up by the Goblin's nephew, and the Grim Reaper ends up moving into the Goblin's home. What follows is instant chaos, magical squabbles, passive-aggressive breakfast routines, and constant one-upmanship. But as they share more daily routines, from arguing over toothbrushes to grappling with smartphones, the friction between them starts to soften into genuine companionship. Their comedic timing is flawless, but really it's the emotional connection underneath their antics that leaves the lasting impression. As their K-drama lives become more and more entangled, the banter gives way to something deeper, and they begin confiding in one another, sharing their doubts, their fears, and their emotional baggage, all tied to their immortal lives and often rigid rules that come with being an immortal. The Grim Reaper becomes a quiet support for the Goblin, especially when the Goblin starts navigating his feelings for his bride. Meanwhile, the Goblin becomes a key figure in the Grim Reaper's path towards self-discovery and personal healing. The relationship between these 2 characters really is what evokes the growth for both of them. The Goblin becomes a mirror for the Grim Reaper. He's continually challenging him to confront and reflect on the choices that have brought him to where he is now. It sparks growth and a journey towards emotional redemption for the Grim Reaper. Their shared experiences and lighthearted rivalry also allow the Grim Reaper to reconnect with emotions he's long buried, like humor, affection, and self-forgiveness. The Grim Reaper has always been about the rules. As a Reaper, he's bound by his duty and paperwork, and there's a lot of paperwork that goes with his duty. He takes his job very seriously of guiding the souls into the afterlife. But as their friendship deepens, he begins to bend the rules in order to support the Goblin in meaningful ways. He also offers the Goblin wisdom, perspective, and a dry sense of humor that balances the Goblin's often emotional intensity. Most importantly, he helps the Goblin reflect on his own long, lonely, immortal existence and really begin to consider what peace and closure might actually look like. Through their shared immortality, the mundane squabbles, and the rare moments of emotional vulnerability, their bromance becomes a profound grounding presence in the show itself. They became each other's greatest source of comfort, 2 immortals haunted by their past, yet somehow healing through each other. Their bromance is not just a comic relief or side plot to the main K-drama. It's the emotional core of Goblin, reminding us that even gods and Grim Reapers can be vulnerable and grow, and find peace through connection. Throughout the drama, their bond evolves into a deep and enduring friendship filled with hilarious banter and surprising emotional depth. Their contrasting personalities and mysterious pasts create a dynamic that is both comedic and heartwarming. If you haven't seen Goblin yet, it's available on Viki, and I highly recommend it. Okay, let's skip over from Immortal Gods to Parallel Universes, with another beautifully understated but emotionally rich bromance in The King, Eternal Monarch. Here's a story of unwavering loyalty built across time, trials, and tremendous responsibility. It's a deep friendship between Egon, the king of the Kingdom of Korea, spelled with a C in a parallel universe, played by Lee Min-ho, and his extremely loyal bodyguard, Cho Young, played by Woo Do-hwan. Young is not just a royal bodyguard. He's also the captain of the royal guard of the Kingdom of Korea and the king's most trusted confidant. He exudes a sharp image, stoic professionalism, and never lets his emotions interfere with his duty. But beneath that formality lies a bond of brotherhood and quiet devotion. Young first meets the king at his coronation. Young is about 4 years old and the king is about 8. And this scene marks the beginning of a lifelong bond, and what initially begins as duty evolves into a deep friendship built on loyalty, trust, and silent understanding. Growing up together in the cold palace, Young becomes the one constant in the young king's life. This continues into adulthood, where he provides a steady presence through political pressure, public isolation, and personal loss. As adults, Lee Gon, the king, is always regal, thoughtful, and formal. It's clear that he carries the emotional and mental burden of ruling a kingdom. In contrast, Young is sharp-edged, emotionally reserved, and precise. He's a man of few words, but with an almost martyr-like dedication to his friend and king. As a child, Lee Gon names his bodyguard the Unbreakable Sword. This is a title that solidifies Young as the king's most loyal and dedicated protector and reflects not only Young's skill and strength, but Lee Gon's absolute trust in him. Young is not just a bodyguard. He's a human shield, an anchor, and the one constant in the king's life. Their trust is palpable throughout the drama. You see it in the way Young never hesitates to protect the king, or the way the king affectionately calls him "my dear Young," a phrase loaded with their shared history and quiet affection. Their friendship thrives on what isn't said. It's their silent glances, their subtle gestures, and their unspoken loyalty. Their relationship has even been compared to that of King Arthur and Excalibur, where Excalibur represents the rightful sovereignty and power, is wielded in battle, and never breaks, symbolizing strength and victory. Young, as the unbreakable sword, embodies strength, unwavering loyalty, and the unwavering commitment to protect the king and the Kingdom of Korea. Throughout the story, their fierce loyalty is tested in many and unexpected ways, sometimes disorientating ways, as they navigate through alternate realities and the multiverse. But through every twist and turn, one thing remains clear. They are each other's most trusted souls. Their connection transcends duty and dimension and reminds us all that true loyalty holds firm even across worlds.
어디로 가시든 혼자는 못 가십니다. 함께 가겠습니다. 거기가 어디든 어떤 전장이든 못 돌아올 길이면 더더욱.
In moments of extreme tension, political crisis, impossible decisions, in life or death and danger, Young is more than just a guard. He helps to keep Egon grounded. He doesn't always need words. His steady presence, subtle understanding, and calm strength help the king to shoulder responsibilities of monarchy that would otherwise be crushing. And Lee Gon in turn helps Young by treating him not just as a subordinate, but as a true friend. In private, he allows Young the space to speak freely. He indulges his real humor and values his counsel above all others. Most importantly, Lee Gon shows unshakable trust in Young by entrusting him with missions, secrets, and decisions no one else is allowed to make. Because he knows that Young won't fail him. This bromance is a study in mutual devotion without constant verbal affirmation. It's quiet, it's powerful, and it's deeply moving. In a drama filled with time loops, parallel identities, and mystical flutes, it was the stillness of Egon and Young's friendship that gave us something constant, something loyal, and something real. Last up, but certainly not least, we have perhaps the most unexpected bromance in the K-drama Vincenzo. This one is between the lead character, Vincenzo Cassano, a former Italian mafia consigliere, and Chan Hansa, an abused chaebol heir caught in a web of control and fear. What begins as disdain slowly blossoms into a powerful and redemptive connection for both the characters. It's difficult to talk about this bromance without giving away key aspects of the drama, so if I seem a little vague at times, that's on purpose. At first, Vincenzo sees Hansa as just another enemy for the corrupt conglomerate he's trying to take down. He uses all of his signature mafia tactics to terrify Hansa and try to make him bend to his will. At this early stage, their relationship is anything but mutual, and Hansa is completely terrified of Vincenzo. Vincenzo is ice cold. But slowly, as their relationship progresses, we the viewer start to catch glimpses of a Hansa that's merely a desperate man. He wants to be seen and acknowledged as a competent individual, something he never gets from his own family. As their relationship intensifies, there comes a pivotal scene, no spoilers, but where the tone starts to change and Vincenzo starts to see these bits of Hansa's true self, a young man craving true purpose. This causes Vincenzo to question whether Hansa is truly irredeemable or just a product of fear and survival. For a man like Vincenzo, who has lived a life surrounded by brutal violence and betrayal, this presents a dilemma. But he decides to lean in, and slowly and carefully he begins to treat Hansa like a person, not a villain and not a pawn. So how do these two characters help each other? Well, Vincenzo becomes a reluctant mentor, teaching Hansa how to stand up for himself. But more than that, he gives him something he's never had before, a sense of self-worth. The way Vincenzo guides Hansa is not gentle, but it's honest. He speaks to him not like a fool or a victim, but like someone who can grow and change, and Hansa rises to that belief. Hansa helps Vincenzo in return by bringing out a side of him that we rarely see, his humanity. For much of the series, Vincenzo is a brilliant, ruthless, and violent strategist. But with Hansa, his walls crack just a little. He lets down his guard, and there are jokes, small protective gestures, and glances that say more than words. Hansa almost becomes the little brother Vincenzo never had. This is the most unlikely bromance of the bunch, but perhaps the most transformative. Hansa grows from fearful and insecure to confident and brave, all because one person, Vincenzo, finally believed in him. Vincenzo, in turn, is reminded that even in a world driven by revenge, there's still room for love, trust, and chosen family. Vincenzo and Hansa didn't start as friends, they didn't even start as equals. But through pain, shared purpose, and acts of courage, they became something more, a chosen family. I know this has been a bit vague, but that's all I can really say without giving away major plot twists, because their bromance is so integral to the entire drama. So all I'll say now is go watch it. You won't be disappointed. These bromances are legendary not just because they're fun to watch, but because they offer something deeper. They give us loyalty, forgiveness, healing, and emotional complexity. We just spotlighted 3 incredible K-drama bromances, but of course there are so many more. So for those of you looking to expand your bromance watch list, here are 4 more duos that may have flown under your radar, but absolutely are worthy of your love. So consider this your official fan homework. Check out Business Proposal, Man to Man, Memories of the Alhambra, and Boys Over Flowers. You won't be disappointed. And then come back here and let us know what you thought. K-drama bromances are relationships that do more than make us laugh or cry. They show us the strength of emotional connection, loyalty, and growth. They remind us that friendship is just as powerful as romantic love and sometimes even more enduring. Let me know, what's your favorite all-time bromance in K-drama history? Drop it in the comments. And that's all for today's episode of Korean Drama Insider. Thank you so much for joining. And to all the actors and actresses who bring these unforgettable characters and friendships to life, thank you as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with your fellow K-drama friends. Let's keep the community growing. And until next time, may your drama queue always be full of K-drama magic and your bromances always be loyal.